So on this week's episode of Be More Super, the podcast, we've got a great star from the Paramount Plus brand new show, Grease, The Rise of the Pink Ladies. She has worked on The Flash, The Descendants 2, Once Upon a Time, and now Grease is the word, and the word on the street is the Pink Ladies are back. Kallie Hu, Kallie, welcome to the show, my love.
Thank you so much, Brian. I'm very excited to be here. I
And
I love how we have the stars around here, and I was like, I can pretend like I have
exactly.
superpowers.
It's like we're traveling through time and space and taking the audience with us. But before we jump into this awesome show that's coming to our screens on the 7th of April, I wanted to find out a bit about you because while browsing the internet and looking on YouTube, you've got a really incredible start. I mean, the thing is, you can dance, you can handle firearms, you can scuba dive, you can ride bikes. Literally, you can do everything. So why acting and why this profession and not a normal 9 to 5 job?
Thanks, Brian. I love how you do your research. Definitely, this is kind of one of the best jobs in the world in terms of getting to create and tell stories. I knew from a very young age that I wanted to be a performer. I think a lot of people do. You just have this electric feeling when you're in front of people and getting to tell a story and seeing their faces change throughout. I love affecting people. I love understanding how people work, and if we can help people understand each other through stories, so why not? Yeah.
And it's incredible being a storyteller because, you know, people can escape for that moment in time when they're watching a great show, you know, enjoying the music and just escape the world, because the world can at times be quite stressful and it's just magical to go on these journeys. But I read that you studied. So you studied at the University of British Columbia. And I want to find out what cognitive systems is and how does someone go from cognitive systems to, you know, performing with John Barrowman and being on The Descendants too.
Thanks, Brian. I love this program. I love when people ask me about it because at UBC it was a very, very small and niche program because it was so interdisciplinary. So you have to take courses in philosophy, psychology, computer science, as well as linguistics. And then you pick a specialization through it. So I chose cognition in the brain. So that had to do more with the cognitive side of things. I love neuroscience, even though it was ABA, it was I did tend to lean towards the neuroscience classes, just because I like brains. I don't know. If I was in another life, I'd probably be a zombie and just like munching on my favorite brain snacks. I don't know. Like
Oh
put me in
dear.
iZombie. Yeah. And through that, you get to learn how artificial and natural systems coincide and how they work together. So a lot of people in the field, they work to become programmers or work in AI, work in user experience design, anything interdisciplinary, really. I love the course. There's such a small niche program, and they're trying to keep it going right now, even though it's hard to find teachers who are willing to, bridge that gap a lot. But I've learned so many invaluable lessons through it. I wouldn't have traded that experience for the entire world.
I mean, this is what amazes me because here in the UK, you know, if someone wants to go into performing arts or wants to go into acting or dance, they literally just go to a university and do performing arts or go to a dance school, go Lambda or places like that. But I'm finding doing these interviews, a lot of, you know, working actors and performers, they've done degrees and qualifications in amazing things that is far from the profession that they're in now. I mean, is that quite common over where you are?
I think so. Yeah, here, definitely. It's this. I just feel that having a degree in something or having studied or worked elsewhere really just adds to that humanistic nature of acting. You're able to understand from different points of view. Being in the artist realm and the industry realm, you often get insulated within your own peers and your groups, and you end up talking sometimes about the same thing a lot. So having different interests and having those social circles just reveals different types of personalities and people that you normally wouldn't see. And I feel it just feeds the acting. It feeds your storytelling. It feeds your mind in different ways.
That's awesome. And then when you decided to branch out and actually have this career as a dancer and an actor and a performer, did you have a plan in place on what you wanted to achieve and where you wanted to go with your career?
Brian, there's no plan. No one. I'm pretty sure 90% of the people, false stat, not a real stat, do not know where they're going in this career. If you're like me, who fell into it serendipitously, I did train in dance since I was a child. My parents enrolled me, and I was very fortunate for that. But fell into acting serendipitously. Somehow just booked Descendants. It was like a last ditch effort to escape academia. I was supposed to go to study in Spain
Wow.
for my master's program, and then ended up booking Descendants instead. And then found an agent through an open call on Facebook during that time. So there was no plan there. And then falling in love with acting through it and through the auditions, and then being like, I should take class, and taking class and learning how therapeutic it can be. It's not therapy, but it can be very therapeutic, and can be help you be super insightful into who you are as a person and why you're having maybe a block here with a scene or a block there. And then it makes you face those aspects of yourself that you probably wouldn't have otherwise. It's things like that that draw you here and there. So I have conversations with everyone on set, crew, cast, ads, and it's always such an interesting story of where people come from. That
Mm.
question you had of, do people here usually just have usually typically have a different degree prior to going into this? Yes, that's true, because the industry here in Vancouver, at least, is very accessible. So
Mm.
people are able to move in, and once people join, they realize how special it really is, and how much incredible work you can really do.
I mean, I can imagine, the industry over there being quite up and down, and you have your great moments and then your bad moments. So what keeps you motivated and keep driving forwards? I mean, is there anything that you do to keep yourself, motivated?
My family. Yeah, they're so proud of me just as a person and as a human being. I'm so fortunate to have them,
Mm.
and they just make me want to work harder be able to take care of them as my mom gets older, take care of my children as I get older, and my boyfriend who's been through everything with me. It's really them that keep me going.
Oh.
Of course, I love it, but on the down days, you have your why, and I want to build a really great life for myself and the people around me. If you haven't read Simon Sinek's Start With Why, I really do recommend it. It gives you a lot of insight into how to keep going in different ways and industries and starting a business, because you know your why.
Mm. I mean, there's a lot of actors out there that actually quit because they struggle with the downs because it's you've. I suppose you've got to be very resilient. You've got to keep going forwards. And then let's talk about auditions, because the majority of my guests don't like auditions, and quite a few love them because they are an art form in themselves, that a lot of people say. So what side of the fence do you sit on? Do you love them or do you hate them?
You know what? Auditioning is the job. Um, it is, this is all a job, it's all a career. Auditioning is the job at the end of the day. The callback is the bonus. The working is technically, if you put it in a way, like kind of the bonus from all the hard work. I feel that my acting itself has improved strides, and my professionalism and my efficiency as an actor has improved so much through auditioning. Yeah, they're hectic and they're last minute, and um, they're sometimes not at the right time. Sometimes you're traveling with your family and you have 2 hours to put it on tape, and you're like, let's do it. But the auditions themselves I love, because you can dive into so many different characters. You have everything around the audition, the taping, the learning of the lines, the finding a reader. That's the stressful part. But in
Mm.
terms of auditioning, I think I do love it, because you get to act.
I mean, also being a dancer. I mean, which type of audition do you enjoy? Do you enjoy the acting audition or the dancing sort of workshop audition side?
Yeah, I don't miss the open calls for dancing. I got really good at them because I was a convention dancer a lot of my high school. So you had a number in your room of hundreds and hundreds of people, and you're dancing, and you want to get a scholarship or stand out. Same thing with an open call. You have a number, and then you have that brutal moment at the end of the audition. They're going to call the numbers they're going to keep, and everyone else can leave. It is a bit brutal in that way. And kudos to all the dancers and everyone who go to these open calls, because they are very stressful and um, high performance situations that you really got to show up your best. And a big reason I moved into acting was knowing that it was a bit more sustainable. Sustainable for
Mm.
the body, sustainable for the heart, sustainable for the mind. It just feels like there were more opportunities in terms of acting in the auditions there, rather than the open call that came once or twice a year here.
I mean, I got asked once to go to a dance audition, believe it or not, because I did performing arts and I've been on the West End as well. I've actually worked with John Barrowman years ago, and I got asked to go to a dance audition, and it was a bit like a workshop. And we had a choreographer there, and we went through all the dance moves, and then they said, "Right, it's freestyle. You do whatever you want. It's your time to show off." Literally, I can follow choreography, but when it went to freestyle, I looked like Colton from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Literally, I felt so stupid, and I thought, what am I doing here? I thought because I had a pair of Capezio trainers, split sole trainers, I'm a dancer. But yeah, I've got respect for anyone that goes into those workshops and open calls. Never again, never again. But you know what? Let's talk about Rise of the Pink Ladies, because we're all fans of Grease. I've had the lovely Randall Kleiser, the director of Grease, on the show about a year ago, because my love for the show, love for the film is enormous. I just think it's fantastic. So if you could give us in your own words what the show is about and whom you play.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I'm glad. That's so exciting. That you
Mm.
have this affinity for it. Everywhere I go, people seem to love it. And this series, this episodic for Paramount Plus, takes place 4 years before the original Grease happens, and it's about these four misfits who decide to live life on their own terms. Be the game changers in their own lives, and subsequently all of Rydell High. There's moral panic. There's you have the T-Birds, but it's really about the rise of the Pink Ladies, as the namesake would suggest, and how these four misfits just find their place with each other. Personally, I play Peg throughout the series. She's there's so much going on underneath the surface with her, and as someone of color in the 1950s, it is interesting to see how she has to work a little harder to navigate the ups and downs. She's definitely a result of looking at the series from more of a modern lens, as we all do when we're making period pieces from a modern day point of view. So that allows us to explore characters who may not have had that chance back in the original Grease.
Yeah, of course, and I'm quite liking, because being in the UK, I haven't had access to the show because they only allow shows like mine that are US based or Canada based to actually have early access. So Paramount, if you're listening, come on, show the UK a bit of love. But
Get it?
I quite like the idea of having those sort of things addressed. And it's shocking to think you're right. Back when the original film was made, authenticity wasn't considered. And it's quite nice that we're going to get a modern sort of take on it. But it looks fantastic. But this is probably going to be a silly question. But what attracted you to the role and the show?
Oh, come on, Brian. Dancer, iconic generational series, things, episodes my mom or movies my mom and dad watched as growing up. Just the music, I still listen to the soundtrack like all the time. It was just literally a dream.
Mm.
And the fact that it was filming here, and we had the whole dance community behind it. Most of the people we knew on set were people in the industry that I've worked with before. So it was
Mm.
just so lovely. It was like a reunion of friends, got to meet new faces from all across the US and Canada. It's just a dream. I couldn't say
And
no.
And talk us through the audition, because I'm sure that it wasn't just a simple self tape, or was it? I mean, I don't know. What was the audition like?
For some people it was. For me, it was a bit more complicated. I am so grateful to Tiffany Mack, our Canadian casting right here in Vancouver. She auditioned me for so many roles. I think I auditioned for the show like 13 times. There was originally an open call, and you submit your materials, and they're shorter scenes. They have a lot of people to get through, and then the casting director would send you requests for certain characters. And I read for so many characters, Brian, so many. And I was like, okay, I need to get on this show. There's also an open dance call. Haven't heard anything back about the other characters. Gonna do the open dance call. So that's a video audition. You learn the choreography off an online video. You send it in, and then you get called in for a callback. So I went in for the callback, did my thing, kick some ass, and then and then heard nothing, and that's how it is until Christmas Eve when I heard I booked the role of Pig.
Oh wow, Merry Christmas. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That is awesome. I mean, for the fans of the movie, what would you say this show shares with the original? I mean, is it like the feels of this show for anyone that loves the original?
You got that Grease energy going. It's that electrifying feeling throughout the entire show. Everywhere you look, you'll find something, because if you look at the original Grease movie, you have people in the background with yo-yos, books on their heads, doing some weird stuff. They were so adamant. Our showrunner, Annabelle Oakes, we had our background wrangler, or our AD, who's working with the background. Her name was Sarah Lemon. Incredible human being, but incredible creative as well. And Alethea Jones, our executive director and director, they wanted to make sure every single frame was filled with as much Grease energy as possible. So you're going to see these amazing things happening in the background or all around, even with the main cast just happening, just pulling the scenes forward. These choices are so exquisite and so nuanced that you're going to have to watch it 2, 3, 4 times to get everything that's happening in a scene. So that's super exciting.
I mean, I'm very excited. One, the fact that the majority of stuff that I watch, my wife doesn't like. So when she saw the trailer for this, she got excited, because we do love a bit of musical entertainment, like a bit like The Greatest Showman, we absolutely love. So the fact that this is musical, lots of dance, singing, it just looks incredible. And from the trailer, the sets, the costumes are just all incredible. I mean, what was it like being on set in those costumes, surrounded by those classic cars? I mean, was it magical?
I mean, it's nothing short of magical. It's that. Oh my gosh, Brian! The first time we walked into the Frosty Palace, I had tears in my eyes. It was just, you're transported into the studio, but it was like you saw this growing up. You saw these cars parked outside. You get to sit in them, ride in them, use them as props like you would as an everyday person, and that was stunning. It kind of, was a gift for me to explore how growing up like my parents did, back in the 50s, like how that was, and exploring, the tools and the nuances and the mannerisms that they would use. It was literally being picked up and transported in time. But sometimes you'll just turn around and you have a group of us on break, just like on our phones. Like you have these like 2023 iPhones, and we're just in these 1950 wardrobes and cars, and it was just this weird juxtaposition, but it kept everything so exquisitely exciting.
I mean, how strict are they? Because when you just mentioned then that you pulled out your phones, I mean, obviously, I'm sure they won't have a HBO moment where they're gonna they're gonna have a Starbucks coffee cup or a film crew like on the corner somewhere. I mean, how strict was it on set to make sure we don't have any modern devices or anything modern on screen?
Oh yeah, you have to be very, every single production, you have to be very careful, especially something like this. Earrings were taken out, like studs and things were hidden. Tattoos, of course, were hidden. It just, had to be very of the era. And it was that attention to detail, though, that, really drives, keeps people in, the scenario. You don't want to watch something and be like, that person has a nose ring. Why? Doesn't work with the scene.
And is this a limited series? Because I've tried to look. I mean, is there plans? Do you know to maybe continue this story? I mean, obviously this is a prequel, I suppose, to Greece. So there may be a few years in it. I mean, is that the plan? Do you know, or is it just a
I
limited
couldn't tell you,
series?
Brian. I can't
Oh,
confirm or deny, but I would love to if I could.
darn NDAs. But I mean, what has been your favourite moment of being on set and working on this show?
It, it's that's a tough one. Picking one moment. Oh, I know. I want to answer you wholeheartedly with one moment, but I really can't. We had so many overnight shoots as well as rehearsals that were just so stunning. And Jamal Sims, our choreographer, the assistant choreographers, associate choreographers, Louis Haradsky, and Jeffrey Mortensen. I've worked with those two before, but seeing them work on this show and being part of the workshopping to bring to life these numbers with these tracks by Justin Tranter, Grammy nominated. It's just like it all just felt like a dream. Like every day you come in and you're like, oh, we're doing this today. Oh, it gets better. Oh, it gets better. There's literally no way I could pick one.
And I mean, I've got to ask, have you kept anything from the show as like a memento? Did you manage to keep any of your outfits or take anything home with you?
Like not the outfits. I don't want to say.
Oh, darn it.
There's one really small memento I personally kept, and I'm gonna keep that one under wraps for now.
That is fine. I mean, did you get a pink jacket? As a crew gift, or
Oh, you want to see?
yeah,
Okay, so my room is full of laundry. So this is just like all laundry behind me. Don't.
that is fine. My room is full of cats.
Oh, cute. Okay.
They're not.
So we walked into our trailer on like the last day of wrap, and we had gotten this from the executive producers and Annabelle, our showrunner. It's just this beautiful hoodie.
Oh
It says
wow.
Grease Rises and Days, and everyone had their character name embroidered on the front.
Oh, that is cool. That is
Yeah,
nice. So
it's
obviously
so
that is what you can tell me. Oh, there's other things that you can't say, which is fine. But how nice is that to get that? It's like that sort of piece of memory of working on the show, and I just can't wait for the show to come out to watch it as a fan. I mean, what have we got to look forward to? I know you can't tell us what goes on in the show, but what can we expect from the show as a whole?
Mhm. You can expect some bopping tracks. I've seriously had songs still have had songs still stuck in my head from like our first day of shooting. You have these incredible dance numbers. You have the ups and downs and angst of teenagers that echo throughout all generations. Doesn't matter what era you're in, and hopefully some feelings of excitement and nostalgia,
Mm.
of being transported to a different time, that not some people would perceive as simpler, but is just as complicated as the time we have now.
That is awesome. So the 7th of April on Paramount Plus. We cannot wait. Just one last question. As you like dance, have you got a favorite dance movie?
Ooh, favorite dance movie. Okay, that's really tough. I will have to say, just for nostalgia's sake of my own, um, the first dance movie I saw growing up, and it was more of a modern one. It was like Step Up, like Channing
Yep.
Tatum. Yeah,
Yeah, the
my very
original.
the original.
Yeah.
Yeah, the very original. I think that was the era where So You Think You Can Dance started coming along too, and dance
Mm.
actually became a thing. I remember a time like a while ago, like if anyone said this now, it would be terrible. It was terrible back then, but one person said to me back then, like, yeah, we grew up in a time where when you said you were a dancer, you were either an exotic dancer or like a ballet dancer. There wasn't any
Mm.
in between. And
Yeah.
a movie like that step up and so you think you can dance, that's really started to change things, right? And it really started to be like, anyone can dance, and you're not boxed into one of these things. You can dance can be super, super cool. And that's what happened. I think we had to have this explosion of dance throughout the industry and pop culture now.
I mean, my favorites has got to be You Got Served. Is it You Got Served? I think so, which is a street dance. Center Stage that I liked. I know it's really sad. I'm a bloke and I'm like going, yes, I liked Center Stage. Honey, of course, with Jessica Alba. Remember? But yeah, you're right. I mean, there's so much dance. We've got a great dance troupe here in the UK called Diversity, who are awesome, which have been going. They were on a talent contest and they won that, and then now they've gone on to have a massive career. And it's just really nice to think that people are actually paying to just go and see people dance, not sing or perform, act. It's just dance, which I think is fantastic because it's a great way to express yourself, and that's what I'm trying to get my girls into. So fingers crossed, my 5-year-old doesn't stop dancing. She does splits, backflips. She's only 5, and I keep on telling her to stop because we've got cats in the house and it could be dangerous. But Kallie, you've been a great guest. It's been lovely to have you on, and I cannot wait for this show to come out and for everyone to see it. But thank you so much. Keep safe and stay super.
Thank you so much, Brian. Stay super yourself.